This video is sponsored by Chepeku, which aside from being one of the most difficult things I've ever had to pronounce for a video sponsorship, also features some amazing deals for DMs and players alike. Stay tuned to the end of the video for more information about their fantasy bundle, or to at least figure out how to defend against the butthole scorpions I released into your house. One of the most common questions I get as a D&D content creator is, "Hey Hama, how do I improve my D&D game?" Okay, well technically the most common question I get is, "Why are you wearing that maid outfit?" But that's between me and my stream audience. But believe it or not, I haven't always been the talented and incredibly bangable dungeon master you see before you. The fact of the matter is, a lot of my early campaigns sucked. It's not like I just popped out of the womb with a deep understanding of storytelling. A giant penis maybe, but definitely not a deep understanding of storytelling. Which is why I made this video, to help some of you get a head start in becoming the best dungeon master you can be, or at the very least better than the people who don't watch my content. But Hama, I hear you ask, what makes this video any different from the thousands of other dungeon masters sharing their tips? Well, my tip is bigger, so. Part 1. What is wrong with you? Stop that. Believe it or not, anyone can learn how to run a D&D game, but not everyone can learn how to tell a story, which I'd argue is more important. Because the biggest issue I see plaguing D&D games everywhere, and the #1 reason I won't sit down and watch yet another actual play from the self-titled Next Critical Role, is that when it comes to writing a D&D game, a lot of people like to separate setting and story. And I can understand why that is. As a DM, you spend a lot of time trying to flesh out your world to paint a clear picture for your players, but that can often lead to stuffing your descriptions with as much flavor text as possible, creating a sort of turducken of needless metaphors and long-winded monologues. Because when it comes to D&D, most of the narrative is communicated through exposition. So, most DMs tend to fall into the trap of tell, don't show. But this isn't your college essay. Nobody cares how many words you use, just how you use them. And mind you, every game is different, so there very well could be a group of players who love slogging through the equivalent of a Where's Waldo audiobook. But in cases where you can only plan a single game every 16 months, quit your job, Jeremy, it's in your best interest to keep your descriptions short and sweet. Part 2. Making your game not suck. Right, so contrary to what your pastor may have told you, it really is that deep. Just because you didn't put a lot of thought into the details of your setting, it doesn't mean that there isn't a thought to be thunk. For instance, the curtains may not be blue for a specific reason, but the very act of being blue can imply things to the audience, and taking that into account can elevate your game. It's just a matter of making those choices more deliberate. Take your villain's lair. Whether it's a cave or a castle, what you put inside it can paint a greater picture of the story you want to tell and the person it belongs to. Think about the amount of thought you put into decorating your room. It's essentially the same concept. Every design element paints a clear picture of who you are, whether that's someone who likes JoJo's Bizarre Adventure or someone with taste. And this very same idea can extend to the basics of character design. Say you have a campaign and you decide to introduce Floopy Doopy the skateboarding dumpster mage, and for whatever reason he's wearing a hat. The question then becomes why? Why does he need the hat? What does it look like? And what does that inform to your players about the kind of person he is? If it's an old, worn-out hat, it can either imply that he doesn't care about material goods outside of their function, or that he has a deep emotional tie to it and an unwillingness to part with it. Either way, it then becomes more than just a hat. And sure, you can choose to make the reason he wears hats just because he likes wearing hats, but even that can then become a deliberate choice, which further characterizes them beyond what you explicitly tell your players. All that to say, deliberate design elements can do so much more for your story than shotgunning a million details at your players. Which is precisely why customization is so important in D&D, especially when creating maps. Part 2 and a half. Hama has to pay his rent. Yeah, I know, but just hear me out. The folks at Chepeku are the perfect example of all the points I've been bringing up in this video. And it's not just because they paid me to do it. With Chepeku's new fantasy bundle, you get access to over 6,000 art assets that you can use to customize maps and characters, with new content added every week. Beyond the sponsorship aspect of this video, it is genuinely such a good investment if you're a DM. Especially if you're not very good at drawing maps. Check out their website, chepeku.com, for more information. Now, back to the video. Part 3. The deepness was inside us all along. If there's a single takeaway I want you to have from this video, aside from checking out the sponsor, it's that when it comes to writing a D&D game, you should work smarter, not harder. Subtext can help you save hours and hours of describing every little thing, and say more in one sentence than you could in 15. Albeit it relies on your players being able to read into it, or at the very least read, but that's a completely separate video. And my god, I do not have the time to teach the people on the internet media literacy. The bottom line is, it's important not to get so caught up in all the superfluous details that you neglect the ones that are most important to your story. Otherwise, you don't have a story, you have an almanac. Do they still fucking sell almanacs? But that's just my opinion. Game opinion. If you agree with it, consider subscribing. I post new content every day, and on a rare occasion, it actually gets seen by the people who follow me. Thanks a lot, YouTube. Either way, stay tuned for next video where I teach flamingos how to box.